Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling off? Nothing obvious was said. No insults, no arguments. Everyone smiled. Yet somehow, you felt smaller. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The most dangerous people rarely announce that they dislike you. They don't raise their voices. They don't declare war. They shake your hand, while quietly hoping you fail. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that hidden enemies are infinitely more dangerous than visible ones, because a visible enemy forces you to defend yourself. A hidden one convinces you that everything is fine. Today you'll discover the subtle behaviors that expose people who secretly resent you, long before they have the opportunity to harm your reputation, relationships, or future. And stay until the end. Because the final behavior is the one almost everyone mistakes for friendship. It has destroyed more successful people than open hatred ever could. Before we begin, I want you to do something simple. In the comments, write, "I trust actions more than words." This isn't for the algorithm. It's a reminder to yourself. Because once you begin paying attention to actions instead of promises, people's true intentions become impossible to ignore. Now let's begin. Not every congratulations is sincere. Some people smile because society expects them to. They applaud because silence would reveal too much. Their words sound supportive, but something about their expression feels strangely empty. If you pay close attention, you'll notice that their enthusiasm never reaches their eyes. They congratulate you with carefully measured phrases like, "That's nice, good for you," or "You got lucky." They acknowledge your success just enough to appear polite, but never enough to genuinely celebrate it. There is no excitement in their voice, no pride in your achievement, only obligation disguised as kindness. Supportive people naturally magnify your victories. They become excited because your success brings them joy. Hidden enemies do the opposite. They shrink your accomplishments until they seem ordinary. They quickly change the subject, point out flaws, or remind you of someone who has done even better. It's their way of protecting their own ego. Machiavelli understood that human beings constantly compare themselves with those around them. The moment your progress reminds someone of the distance between where they are and where they wish they were, admiration can quietly transform into resentment. They aren't disturbed because you succeeded. They're disturbed because your victory forces them to confront their own excuses, missed opportunities, and unrealized potential. The higher you climb, the more uncomfortable your presence becomes for those who measure their worth against yours. Watch carefully. Genuine friends celebrate your rise. Hidden enemies simply tolerate it. Have you ever noticed how some people always seem to have an explanation for your achievements? No matter what you accomplish, they immediately search for a reason that has nothing to do with your effort, discipline, or ability. If you worked hard, they say you were simply lucky. If you earned recognition, they insist you had the right connections. If your business grows, they claim the timing was perfect. In their eyes, your success is never the result of your character, because accepting that possibility would force them to question the excuses they have been telling themselves for years. This is one of the oldest psychological defense mechanisms. It is far easier to diminish another person's accomplishments than to admit your own lack of action. By convincing themselves that your victories were accidental or undeserved, they protect their pride from uncomfortable truths. Machiavelli understood that wounded pride often blinds people more than ignorance ever could. Those consumed by envy rarely see reality as it is. They reshape it until it becomes less threatening to their ego. Pay attention to people who consistently minimize everything you achieve. They never openly attack your success because that would expose their resentment. Instead, they quietly reduce its value until it seems ordinary. Their goal isn't to understand your journey. Their goal is to make sure your progress never inspires them to confront their own limitations. This behavior surprises most people because we naturally assume that the people who pay the most attention to us must also care about us. In reality, those who secretly dislike you often observe your life more closely than your closest friends ever will. They notice where you go, who you spend time with, what you buy, what you post online, and even the smallest changes in your routine. They remember details you don't recall sharing because they are constantly watching. At first, this attention may seem flattering, but it rarely comes from admiration. It comes from comparison. Your true supporters celebrate your growth without feeling threatened by it. Hidden enemies monitor your progress because every step forward you take forces them to measure themselves against you. They quietly keep score, waiting to see whether you rise or stumble. Every achievement becomes another reminder of what they have not accomplished. Machiavelli understood that people driven by envy become students of the very person they resent. They gather information not to learn from your success, but to satisfy their curiosity and search for weaknesses they can use to comfort themselves. Never confuse constant attention with genuine respect. Sometimes the person who knows the most about your life is not your greatest admirer, but your most silent competitor. The wisest people understand that observation is not always a sign of affection. Sometimes it is simply surveillance, disguised as interest, waiting for the perfect moment to turn knowledge into advantage. Life has a remarkable way of revealing who truly belongs in your corner. When everything is going well, you may find yourself surrounded by people who laugh with you, celebrate your victories, and eagerly enjoy your company. But the moment life becomes difficult, the room begins to empty. Messages become less frequent, invitations disappear, and those who once claimed they would always be there suddenly have endless excuses. What seemed like loyalty was often nothing more than convenience. Machiavelli understood that fortune exposes character more clearly than comfort ever can. Anyone can stand beside a person who is winning. Success attracts attention because people enjoy being associated with strength, influence, and opportunity. Yet very few remain when uncertainty replaces certainty. Hidden enemies often wait for difficult seasons because they reveal something they secretly hoped to see, you struggling. They may not openly celebrate your hardship, but neither do they rush to help. Instead, they watch from a distance, convincing themselves that your problems somehow justify their resentment. Observe who reaches out when you have nothing to offer in return. Genuine friends stay because they value you, not your circumstances. Those who quietly disappear were never committed to you. They were committed to the benefits of being close to you. Never mistake someone's presence during your victories for proof of loyalty. Real allegiance is measured by who remains beside you when your success no longer offers them an advantage. One of the most deceptive forms of manipulation comes wrapped in the language of concern. It doesn't sound like criticism. It sounds like protection. They tell you, "I'm only saying this because I care about you," or "I just don't want to see you get hurt." Then they encourage you to lower your expectations, play it safe, or abandon the very ambitions that make you different. Because their words are delivered calmly and politely, it's easy to mistake fear for wisdom. But not every warning is meant to protect you. Some are meant to restrain you. Machiavelli understood that people often act in ways that preserve their own comfort before they consider the good of others. Someone who secretly resents your potential may discourage your boldest decisions, not because they truly believe you will fail, but because your success would force them to confront the risks they were unwilling to take. Instead of inspiring courage, they normalize mediocrity. Instead of encouraging growth, they praise safety. Their advice quietly reflects the limits they have accepted in their own lives. This is why you must judge advice by its effect, not merely its tone. Wise counsel challenges you to become stronger, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Manipulative advice gently persuades you to remain exactly where you are. Sometimes the greatest obstacle to your future is not open criticism, but a comforting voice that convinces you to settle for less than you are capable of becoming. Open enemies often make their intentions obvious. They criticize you directly, challenge your ideas, or openly express their dislike. Hidden enemies choose a far more effective strategy. They rarely attack you face to face because direct conflict carries risks. Instead, they rely on whispers, suggestions, and carefully chosen questions that plant doubt without exposing their true intentions. They might say, "I'm probably overthinking it, but doesn't something seem different about them?" Or, "I could be wrong, but I've heard a few things." With a few harmless-sounding words, they allow suspicion to grow while protecting themselves from responsibility. This is one of the oldest psychological tactics. People are more likely to believe an idea when they think they discovered it themselves. By asking leading questions instead of making direct accusations, hidden enemies encourage others to fill in the blanks with their own assumptions. The rumor spreads naturally, while the person who started it appears innocent. Machiavelli understood that reputation is one of the greatest forms of power a person possesses. Long before modern psychology existed, he recognized that weakening someone's image could be more effective than confronting them openly. Once trust begins to erode, people start questioning everything you do, even without evidence. Pay close attention to those who consistently speak in hints rather than facts. Honest people address problems directly. Manipulative people prefer conversations where they can influence opinions without ever appearing responsible for the damage they create. Confidence has a strange effect on people. Those who are secure in themselves often find it inspiring, while those who are deeply insecure experience it as a quiet threat. This is why some people become noticeably colder the moment you begin respecting yourself. Perhaps you start setting healthy boundaries, stop apologizing for your opinions, or become more disciplined with your time and energy. Suddenly, they tell you that you've changed. They claim you're becoming distant, difficult, or full of yourself. Yet, the only real difference is that you no longer seek permission to be who you are. Machiavelli understood that power begins with self-possession. A person who knows their worth is far more difficult to manipulate than someone constantly searching for approval. Hidden enemies recognize this, even if they cannot explain it. They preferred the version of you that doubted yourself because uncertainty made you easier to influence. The moment you become confident, you stop accepting disrespect, stop chasing validation, and stop allowing others to define your value. That quiet independence disrupts the control they once enjoyed. Notice that genuine friends rarely feel threatened by your confidence. They celebrate your growth because your strength does not diminish theirs. But those who secretly resent you often mistake confidence for arrogance because admitting the truth would require them to confront their own insecurity. They are not uncomfortable because you think highly of yourself. They are uncomfortable because your self-respect reminds them of the confidence they have never found within themselves. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everyone feels disappointed when you fail. Some people experience a quiet sense of relief. They may never admit it aloud, and they may even offer polite words of sympathy. But beneath the surface, your setback eases a burden they have carried for a long time. as long as you were succeeding. They were forced to compare their own progress with yours. The moment you stumble, that uncomfortable comparison temporarily disappears. Your failure becomes evidence that they no longer have to question themselves. Machiavelli understood that envy does not always seek victory for itself. Often, it simply hopes to see someone else lose. For those trapped by resentment, watching another person fall can feel easier than rising through their own effort. Instead of developing discipline, they wait for fortune to humble those they secretly admire and resent at the same time. This is why difficult seasons reveal people's true hearts more clearly than moments of triumph. Pay attention to how people behave after you experience a setback. Genuine friends encourage you, remind you of your strengths, and look for ways to help you recover. Hidden enemies often become strangely calm, almost comfortable. They stop comparing themselves because they believe life has restored the balance they wanted. Some may even disguise satisfaction as concern, asking endless questions about what went wrong while showing little interest in how you plan to rise again. Never judge people only by how they react to your success. Their response to your failures often reveals their true feelings far more clearly. Healthy competition can push people to improve, grow, and become better versions of themselves. But hidden competition is different. It does not come from inspiration. It comes from comparison, insecurity, and the need to prove superiority. The most dangerous competitors are often the ones who never admit they are competing with you. They act like they support you, but secretly they measure their life against yours. Every achievement becomes a scoreboard. Every improvement becomes a challenge. Every success you experience becomes something they feel they must overcome. You may notice that whenever you accomplish something, they suddenly need to mention something they have done that is bigger, better, or more impressive. If you share a goal, they immediately reveal a similar goal. If you improve yourself, they rush to show their own progress. It is not about celebrating growth together. It is about making sure they never feel behind you. Machiavelli understood that pride and ambition can make people act according to their emotions rather than reason. A person driven by envy does not always want what you have. Sometimes they simply cannot accept that you have it first. Your journey becomes a reflection of what they believe they lack. And instead of being inspired, they become quietly obsessed with comparison. The danger of hidden competition is that you may think you have a supporter when you actually have someone waiting for an opportunity to surpass you. Pay attention to those who constantly turn your victories into their own contests. True allies walk beside you. Hidden rivals are always trying to walk ahead of you. The most painful realization is sometimes the simplest one. Some people never truly liked you from the beginning. Not because you harmed them, betrayed them, or gave them a reason to dislike you, but because something about you challenged the way they saw themselves. Your confidence reminded them of their own insecurity. Your discipline reminded them of the promises they never kept. Your ambition reminded them of the dreams they abandoned. Instead of using your qualities as inspiration, they quietly turned them into reasons to judge you. Machiavelli understood that human decisions are often influenced by emotion before logic. People frequently form opinions based on feelings, then search for explanations to justify those feelings afterward. This means someone can decide they dislike you and later create a list of reasons to support that decision. Their judgment may have very little to do with who you truly are and everything to do with their own fears, expectations, and unresolved frustrations. The mistake many people make is spending years trying to earn acceptance from those who decided against them long ago. They change their personality, reduce their goals, and silence their confidence, hoping to become more acceptable. But no amount of effort can convince someone to appreciate what they have already chosen to resent. The wisest response is not hatred or revenge. It is awareness. Understand that not every person who enters your life is meant to stay close. Some people appear only to teach you a valuable lesson. Your worth does not depend on the approval of those who are never willing to see it. The greatest lesson is not to become suspicious of everyone around you. It is to become more aware. Machiavelli never taught people to live in constant fear. He taught them to understand human nature, recognize patterns, and make decisions based on reality rather than appearances. The world is not filled only with enemies, but it is also not filled only with people who have pure intentions. Wisdom comes from knowing the difference. Some people will applaud your success while secretly wishing they had it. Some will offer advice while hoping you stay small. Some will stand beside you during your victories, but disappear when challenges arrive. These behaviors are not always loud or obvious. They reveal themselves through patterns, through small moments, and through the way people consistently respond to your growth. The key is not to waste your energy exposing every person who does not support you. Your greatest power comes from protecting your focus. Let their actions reveal their character while you continue building your own path. A person who understands human nature does not chase approval from everyone. They observe, they learn, and they choose carefully who receives access to their time, trust, and loyalty. Remember, the goal is not to become cold. It is to become clear. Kindness without awareness can make you vulnerable, but awareness with wisdom makes you stronger. When you stop begging people to recognize your value, you become free from their judgment. The opinions of hidden enemies lose their power the moment you stop needing their approval. Your mission is not to convince everyone to like you. Your mission is to become someone whose direction is too strong to be controlled by the opinions of others. Remember, your success will reveal people. Your growth will reveal people. Your confidence will reveal people. Some will rise with you. Some will distance themselves. Some will quietly reveal that they were never truly on your side. Let that knowledge bring you clarity, not bitterness. If you have ever experienced someone who supported you publicly but resented you privately, leave this affirmation in the comments. I see people clearly, trust actions over words, and protect my peace. Write it as a reminder to yourself that awareness is your shield, wisdom is your strength, and your journey does not require the approval of those who cannot appreciate where you are going. The more you understand human nature, the less power hidden motives have over you.